Warrior, I am coming at you in mid-July to talk about back to school. I know it's something nobody wants to hear about, but you know what? We've got to arm ourselves with information. We got to get ready getting back into those schools. You got to start now with educating yourselves. And this time of year, it's a little more relaxed. Kids out of school, more grandparents involved, kids visiting grandparents. Let's talk about a program in the schools across America called iReady. Now, I didn't really know about iReady until fairly recently, but there's so much going on with it, and it's in so many schools across America. And if I didn't know about it, you probably don't know about it. So let's go over what this iReady is in preparing for back to school. It's a widely used educational platform that's digital. Now, when you hear the word digital, that should alert you right away. Online, kids online, predators, harmful algorithms, excessive use, infinite scrolling. All those things you should know by now happen online. But this is a digital program put out by a company called Curriculum Associates, and it's used primarily in the public school system. And there are some charter and private schools using it as well for reading and mathematics, for assessing a child in order to give that child a personalized online instruction. We were sold a bill of goods. We know now that computers, screens in the classroom, all of this digital education would empower our kids and make them smarter. And I'm here to say, and we don't even have time to go into it, the studies bear witness that our kids are, I am sorry, dumber than ever, ill-prepared. Our national report cards, which go out every year, all 50 states, all states are failing in mathematics, reading comprehension, reading, and science. So again, that bill of goods we were sold sounded good. I'm not blaming parents or families right now. I was right there with you. The computers, the screens, a child can carry a Chromebook, a government-issued Chromebook, because that's better than carrying 8 textbooks. We were all sold a bill of goods, right? But it's adaptive assessment changes difficulty based on a child's answers, then generates performance data and can place the student on an individualized instructional path. Now, the problem with this is the company says the platform serves about 17 million students and 1 million educators. I heard it's higher, but we'll go with that. This is millions of students and millions of educators, right? But this adaptive assessment, what is that? Questions become easier or harder depending on the student's responses. Okay, adaptive assessment. So it's based on how a student answers, and that's how they give you the questions going forward. Individualized instruction. I think we all know what that is. Lessons can be targeted to a student's particular skill level, teacher, data. Educators can identify strengths and weaknesses and areas where intervention for the student may be needed. So far it's sounding, if you didn't really think about all this, sounds okay, right? Again, I remind you, anything digital online is more isolation of student to teacher, in classroom instruction, in classroom participation, progress tracking. Schools can monitor growth over time. Well, let me just throw this in before I forget, because there is a class action lawsuit going on right now with iReady. Many parents, caregivers, family members, whatever that dynamic is of the family in the beginning of the school year, did check off boxes on that permission slip. You can use iReady. Now, here's the problem. iReady, according to the lawsuit, went ahead and took that permission and then used your child's data information on other things without your permission. That's what I understand part of the lawsuit to be about, using your child's data without your permission. I mean, it's as simple as that. Consistency. Districts can use one system across large numbers of students. Again, it's for the masses. It's funny, I have this conversation a lot with educators, right? And psychologists, and it's always the same. I realize now in my older age, this school being, one-stop shopping for all. And then kids get bored or act out, and then they're given, ADHD medication and this and that. They're called troublemakers, which brands them kind of for life. Let's not go there. That's another program. But it's not. It's the school program, and kids need an individualized program. In my opinion, I know some really smart kids over the years that were totally bored, so they acted out or skipped school. They're not bad kids. That just didn't work, going from, in high school, period to period, 28-minute periods, and then 3 minutes in the hallways, and then, 28 minutes for lunch. That doesn't, think about that. And don't say we did it, whatever. It just doesn't work, forcing this all on kids. So I guess the educators just took to this, online digital learning because it would help with a lot of things. But then again, what is the job of a true teacher, right? It's personally interacting with a student. Potential early identification. iReady can be used in connection with certain screening requirements, including early literacy and reading difficulties. Okay, but you know what? That should be the job of a teacher, right? And a school psychologist and the parent all working together in person to help the child. Look, I've already said this is more screen time. That is too young. Remember, delay is the way. We don't want kids on these screens. And also taking the books away from kids. We want kids to read books, an actual hardcover book, or even a paperback, or those workbooks, because they touch, they feel, they see, right? That book belongs to them. Remember years ago we had to put book covers, I don't know about you, but we would cut up in my house brown paper shopping bags from the supermarket and make brown, because the school I went to, you weren't allowed to use those glossy, which I loved. You could buy them like at the 5 and 10, or those glossy, like psychedelic color, already pre-cut book covers I just love so much. No, all of our books in Catholic school had to be covered in brown paper. But whatever, the kids don't have any of that experience at all of any of that. But really the biggest thing also is going back to this data and collection and privacy. A child cannot consent. Anything, just think about this. Even you as the parent, and you have parental autonomy. This is something at the Warriors we talk about all the time. That, we always say, don't put your children's pictures online. And even though I get a lot of yeses, you're right, we don't do it. A lot of people do it. Now, what happens when you put that picture of your child in a bathtub when they're 12 months old and then they're a 30-year-old man? Okay? Remember, pictures are captured. People will say, well, I only have it for family and friends, and everything can be hacked today. You should know that by now. Images are shared all over the place. Even if you delete an image, as I always tell the kids, it's still there. It's been captured. It's in the cloud. It is somewhere. But, a digital platform necessarily processes so much information about student performance and interaction. Will that be used in the future when the child is trying to get into college? Will that be used when the child's trying to buy a car, get a credit card, be used, health insurance? Where is all this information going? It is being transmitted with iReady to a third party. I mean, this is just ridiculous. And there's also this over-reliance on these algorithms we keep, these computer-generated score or learning pathways should really not replace. Remember, everything digital does not feel, right? We talk about chatbots. Yes, I'm digressing here. AI, artificial intelligence. I don't even like saying artificial intelligence because intelligence can't be artificial. Another program, Warriors. But these chatbots that kids are interacting, we have reports of 55%, so the number's higher, of teenagers are interacting with chatbots on pretty much a daily basis, because you can create a little machine into your own liking, what it looks like, what you want it to say. That's over half our kids. I'm here to remind you that's a machine. A machine cannot feel, okay? So iReady can't really pick up on nuances or feelings or emotions, which and I know, a child, there is so much. It cannot replace iReady, a program, okay? Professional teacher judgment. And simply transparency and parental consent. Parents may not always feel they have meaningful knowledge of or choice about technology their children are required to use at school. I ask so many parents, what is your child doing with technology in school? A lot of them say, I don't know. They have a Chromebook. I don't know. That is not a good enough answer. Parent up, everybody. But as of July 2026, right now, a putative federal class action is proceeding against iReady, parent company Curriculum Associates. okay, filed in December 2025, a couple of months back, by K through 12 student plaintiffs, alleging that iReady collected, used, and shared student information without proper consent and asserts claims, including violations of the Federal Wiretap Act and California privacy law. So more recent reporting says attorneys are seeking to expand the case to students who use iReady across the United States. These are allegations, not established facts. Right, the case hasn't been tried yet, so we don't have a final judgment, but I just want you to know what's going on. Of course, the company, the iReady company, strongly denies the allegations at all and says they don't sell student data, information, or advertising or marketing or build commercial profiles on students. But I think the larger issue is bigger than one company or one lawsuit. When a school requires, this is part of it, a child to use educational, ed tech they call it, educational technology, exactly what information is being collected? Where does it go? Who has access to it? And did the parent or caregiver, the guardian, meaningfully consent? This is a debate worth having. Educational technology, ed tech, because I see in all the articles, ed tech. So I'll say to you, educational technology, so you understand if you see these words. I mean, I think, they're being given right now, to me, these are my words, kind of a blank check. And parents should be able to demand both an effective education and meaningful protections for their kids' privacy, because right now with AI just scrapes the internet, grabbing everything. That is why we have those massive AI data centers being built all over the country. We've got them here in upstate New York, beautiful, up by Dutchess County, which was beautiful, rolling hills and farmlands. You got them in Texas, you got them in Ohio, you got them in neighborhoods now, and we're beginning to fight back on that one. Actually, July, I believe 18th is National Data AI Center Fighting Back Day. But I bet you didn't hear about that one because that's information that's kind of suppressed. But I'm going to put that information in the body of this video. And I'll put more about iReady, because if you have children, okay, look, the current litigation raises serious questions about practices and must be tested in court. Remember, the lawsuit doesn't prove any wrongdoing yet, but it puts a spotlight on a much larger question. Who owns the digital footprint of your child? Think about this. The law lags behind technology. The technology is way ahead of anybody, you, me, everybody. It's time to lay some groundwork. It's time to hold big tech accountable. It's time for you as the parent or caregiver to really understand what's going on. Ed tech, it's in all the schools across America. You have every right to be one of those parents who says, I want the pencil to paper. And that is, you don't have to use. It might be uncomfortable. Your child may say all the other kids have their Chromebook, they're online, but you have a right. And a lot of schools will tell you, well, you have to do this way. Not true. There is a movement started by parents themselves across the nation. Again, something you're not hearing about, pencil to paper. Some schools call it pen to paper, where you have every right to ask for a textbook, and you have every right to ask for a package of assignments, like the weekly assignments, even the monthly assignments, and do them the old-fashioned way, everybody, okay? So get ready. We've got a company called iReady. Sounds great. Remember, these companies, it all has like great names, Kids Act. Who would go against that, right? Back to school is right around the corner, okay? Actually, next month for some of our southern states. Understand what's going on. Take 5 minutes a day. Share this video. Write to us, Lynn at lynswarriors.org. Community creates change. Protect our children, because in America, there is a war on for our children. And when you wake up each and every day and instill this in your children and your neighbors and your other family members, get up and go out and be a warrior. Thank you.